Good morning. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report. And this morning, I'd like to update listeners on a project that we partner with the Minnesota Department of Ag, the Sauk River Watershed District, and the Minnesota Ag Water Resources Center. And it's called the Discovery Farm of Minnesota, and it's a farmer-led water quality research and education program. And the mission of the program is to collect water quality information under real-world conditions to provide credible and practical information that supports better farm management decisions. And there are currently 11 Discovery Farms located in Minnesota, including one in Stearns County, located south of Sauk Center on the Nick and Tara Meyer Farm. Monitoring on the Stearns County site started in March of 2011. So we have 5 full years of monitoring on that site. The field was in corn the first 3 years and was seeded to alfalfa the past 2 years. Water samples are collected using automated equipment that pulls samples during both surface runoff events and through subsurface tile lines. Not all sites across the state have both the tile and the surface monitoring, but the Stearns County site does have both. There is also a weather station on the site recording precipitation, humidity, air, and soil temperature. The water samples that get pulled are analyzed for sediment, nitrogen, and phosphorus. And we record all the field management activities and the dates that they take place, like the tillage and manure or fertilizer applications. And all the monitoring so far has been what we call baseline monitoring. And by that we mean we're only trying to evaluate how the farmer's current management affects the water quality. And possibly in the future, we may consider how the addition of a conservation practice like a filter strip or cover crops or maybe a change in tillage practices might affect the water quality. I've got 4 general results that I'd like to kind of share with the listeners. First of all, on average, about 50% of the annual runoff occurs while the soil is frozen. Second is the majority of the annual runoff occurs from February to June, and the months of February, March, May, and June make up 81% of the average annual runoff. And during each of the other 8 months of the year, less than 5% of the average annual runoff volume occurs. The third point, at least 1/3 of the total annual volume occurs in March on average. So March is the month with the highest frequency of runoff at 100%. This means that at least each year at every site we've monitored, there has been a runoff event in March. And lastly, runoff is more likely in February and March than in early winter, say November, December, January time. But the risk of runoff in April, May, and June is similar to that of January and February because the spring rain and the fact that there's little plant cover leaves the soil saturated and more vulnerable to runoff. So knowing some of these results, here's a couple management practices that we would recommend. So if you understand the key factors of runoff and assess the situation on your farm and in your local area. So watch for weather forecasts for dramatic or rapid warming temperatures or the prediction of large rain or snow events. Save your least risky fields for the most risky time periods. So by the least risky fields on your farm would be the ones with lowest slope or far away from surface water sources and the ones that do need nutrients for the next year's crops. And finally, the last recommendation would be if you do have manure storage, spread the manure in the fall and early winter so that you can avoid spreading when the risk for runoff is high. So that would be this upcoming March time frame. Manure storage doesn't reduce the risk of nutrient losses, but proper management of manure storage can greatly reduce those risks. So our challenge is to continue identifying environmental risks on each farm, because even though great progress has been made, there is still room for improvement. There are still farms that do excess tillage. There are still places in need of grass waterways or buffers. There are opportunities to fine-tune nitrogen application rates or improve manure application timing. I can say that the staff here at the Conservation Office looks forward to using this information to help farmers make good decisions to continually improve their soil and water resources. And to wrap up this morning, I'd like to just remind folks that the Stearns County Pheasants Forever chapter is holding their annual banquet next Saturday, March 5th at the Freeport Community Center, and the doors open at 5:30 p.m. for the traditional crowing hour with dinner and prizes at 7:30 p.m. To get tickets, you can go to www.stearnspf.org, or you can show up at the door. Tickets are $55, which does include 1 year of membership to the Pheasants Forever and the dinner. Again, this is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your weekly conservation report, and thanks for listening.